Why? But why did every single cartoon character get so dumb? Here's something wild to think about. Those shows we grew up watching? If they came out today, most of them would land in the mature audiences category. I'm serious. Martin Mystery, Ben 10, Samurai Jack, the 1994 Spider-Man. If any of those dropped now, with maybe 1 or 2 edgy lines thrown in, they'd slap a grown-up label on them instantly. But here's the thing. It's not about the language. It's that those shows had characters who carried weight. They were serious. They meant something. Samurai Jack could stand there in total silence, and that silence said more than a whole script. Dexter talked, and there was real intelligence behind it. Even a kids' show like Batman. The animated series made its characters feel like actual people. And now? You open the same channels and you get something completely different. Characters who scream every line, pull these wildly exaggerated faces, crack a joke every 3 seconds, and never, ever stop to breathe. So what happened? Did the characters actually get dumber? Or was this a deliberate set of choices the industry made? Because I'm telling you, this shift was not an accident. And by the end of this video, you're gonna see modern cartoons in a way you can't unsee. Now real quick, before we go deeper, I want to be super honest with you. Everything I'm about to say is my own take, my own theory. None of this is some absolute, carved-in-stone fact. I'm an animator myself. This stuff is personal to me, so I've got opinions, and you might disagree with some of them, and that's totally fine. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear them. And if you like this kind of deep dive into the cartoons we grew up with, do me a favor and hit subscribe. Alright, let's get into it. So let's start with the thing that's actually behind a lot of this. It's a real, documented pattern, and once you know its name, you'll spot it everywhere. There's this thing called flanderization. The name comes from Ned Flanders on The Simpsons, a character who started out as just a friendly, religious neighbor and slowly got exaggerated into this over-the-top caricature of himself. And here's how it works. A character starts with one small trait. Maybe they're a little naive, a little goofy. And season after season, that one trait gets cranked up louder and louder until it swallows the whole character. The most common version? A character who started out just good-hearted gets slowly turned into completely brainless. Because it's easy. It's the path of least resistance. And once you see flanderization, you cannot unsee it. Think about how many characters you loved as a kid who slowly became a dumber version of themselves. That's not you misremembering. That's real. But flanderization is just the start, because there's a much colder, more business-driven reason underneath all of this. And honestly, this next part is where it clicks. Let me walk you through the actual machinery, because there are real reasons this happened, and I want to hit them one by one. First, there's the episode length. Most modern cartoons got squeezed into these tiny 11 to 15-minute formats. And here's the problem with that. Writing a smart character who makes clever plans and actually solves problems? That takes time. But a dumb character who slams the wrong button and causes total chaos? That takes about 4 seconds, and boom, your plot's moving. For writers on a tight clock, a dumb character is an incredible shortcut. Then there's what I call the gag-a-minute rule. Studios don't want storytelling anymore. They want a constant stream of stimulation. And the cheapest, fastest way to make a joke is to have a character react to a situation in the most absurd, illogical, goofy way possible. Situational comedy replaced character comedy. It's just faster to write. And here's a big one. They're literally writing for memes now. Characters aren't built for the episode anymore. They're built for a 10-second clip that'll go viral on TikTok or Instagram. An insanely dumb action or an over-the-top facial expression has way better odds of blowing up online than a thoughtful piece of dialogue. So that's what gets written. Think about that for a second. Entire scenes designed to become a reaction gif. Quick pause, because I really want to know where you stand on this. Am I the only one who feels this? When you flip through modern cartoons, do you feel that something's missing too? Or is it just me being an old grump? Be honest. Tell me in the comments. And seriously, if this is resonating with you, subscribe. It genuinely helps me keep making these. Okay, back to it, because we're just getting to the good stuff. There's also the shift from action and drama to pure comedy. Back in the day, epic action cartoons with real continuity were mainstream, and those shows need heroes who can think strategically, who can reason. But as the industry started seeing drama and action as risky and absurd comedy as safe, the need for smart characters just faded. And this one's kind of funny. It's an overcorrection. People got tired of the perfect, flawless, know-it-all hero who never makes a mistake. Fair enough, that guy was boring. But instead of fixing it by writing flawed, human characters, the industry overcorrected hard and made characters aggressively incompetent instead. They swung way too far the other way. Then there's this quiet insult buried in all of it, a loss of faith in the audience's intelligence. Old shows trusted kids to handle complex emotions, moral dilemmas, deep lore. Today's network executives assume the viewer's gonna get confused instantly, so they dumb everything down. And look, I'm gonna be real with you here. Without being rude, that assumption is just wrong. Kids are smarter than that. We were smarter than that. There's also the something for everyone trap. When you try to sell one show to a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old, and the adult watching with them all at once, the humor gets dragged down to the lowest common denominator: physical goofiness. Easy, simple stupidity. Stuff that requires zero context. And here's a sneaky one most people never think about: the animation tools themselves. Programs like Flash made it incredibly easy to twist a character's face and body into insane shapes in seconds, that extreme squash and stretch look. And because it's so easy to do, animators lean on it, which pushes characters toward being these constantly wacky, goofy, rubber-faced types. The tools shape the character. Wild, right? Then there's the cynicism problem. In modern cartoons, the second a character takes something seriously, has a real emotional moment, or gives a logical explanation, it gets cut off by some random absurd joke. Characters literally can't sustain being serious, and that makes them feel mentally shallower than they are. There's the relatability pressure too. Executives think viewers bond more with lazy, confused, mistake-making characters than with smart, capable ones. So in the name of being relatable, they deliberately dial down the intelligence. And I get the logic, but there's a limit. And finally, the cheapest trick of all, dumb characters are a guaranteed source of conflict. In good writing, conflict comes from outside forces or from characters with genuinely different beliefs. In lazy writing, conflict comes from one character not understanding a simple sentence, blurting out the secret, or walking into an obvious trap. A dumb character is a cheap conflict machine, every single time. Okay, this is the part I really want you to stick around for. Because now that you know the how, I want to talk about the why it works on us. And this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. So here's the question that kept me up. Why do we actually like these characters? Because we do, right? And there's real psychology behind it. Humans are drawn to characters who make us feel better about our own flaws. When we watch someone lazy, confused, and messing up, there's a comfort in, a little voice going, "Hey, at least I'm not that bad." It's reassuring. There's an old idea that goes all the way back to the philosopher Aristotle, who talked about how we take a strange kind of pleasure in watching things unfold from a safe distance. We get to enjoy the chaos without living it. And a dumb character delivers pure, consequence-free chaos. There's another layer too. The philosopher Thomas Hobbes had this theory that a lot of our laughter comes from a sudden feeling of superiority, that little flash of, "I'm smarter than that." A dumb character hands you that feeling on a plate over and over. And honestly, that's not evil. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a goofy character. Rigby from Regular Show, Mabel from Gravity Falls, these are genuinely lovable characters. I love them, but here's my problem, and I'm gonna be straight with you. It's one thing to have one or two dumb characters in a show. It's another thing entirely when 99% of the show is built on it. That's the part that drives me up the wall. Because yeah, we had dumb characters back in the day too. Patrick Star was always simple, but it wasn't this much, and it wasn't this exaggerated. You'd get one or two goofy characters in a show full of grounded ones. Now, every character in the show and every single storyline leans this way. The balance is completely gone. And here's where it really hits home for me. Because I want you to actually see the difference. Side by side, take Teen Titans. The original 2003 series, these were characters with real depth. They had trauma, they had growth, they had genuine emotional arcs. Beast Boy and Cyborg felt like real people. And then look at Teen Titans go. Those same two characters got turned into, I'm sorry, but two goofballs who think about nothing but eating burritos and doing silly dances. Same characters, completely hollowed out. And as someone whose actual job is animation, I'm gonna be honest with you, that one genuinely makes me sad. It's not that the new one is trying to be dumb and failing, it's that it chose this on purpose. And that choice is the whole story. And it's not just Teen Titans. Look at what Cartoon Network's been putting out the last 5 or 6 years. So many of these shows feel identical. Same energy, Same goofy characters, same zero originality formula. Uncle Grandpa living completely outside the laws of logic. Apple and Onion staring blankly at the simplest social rules. Show after show after show, all pulling from the same shallow well. Think about the old Ben 10, a kid who actually matured, who learned to strategize. And then the reboot Ben, a kid who screams at everything and leaps before he thinks. Same name, two totally different levels of writing. Now here's what I really want you to hear, because I don't want to be that guy who just complains. Modern adult-oriented cartoons, the ones that get put in the grown-up category, they're honestly not that different from the old kids' shows we loved. And you know why they're in the adult category? Not because they're edgier, it's because they actually carry meaning. They make you think. That's the only real difference. We used to get that depth in shows made for children. Now you have to go to the adult section to find it. And I think that says everything. So let's bring this home. Look, I need to be clear one more time. This isn't me saying I hate these characters, or that you're wrong for loving them. Mabel, Rigby, all of them, they're great, and there's a real place for goofy, lovable characters in animation. But when an entire industry decides that nearly every character has to be this way, when depth becomes the exception instead of the rule, something real gets lost. And the saddest part is, it wasn't because animators forgot how to write smart characters. It's because a whole system of tiny business decisions, shorter episodes, meme culture, playing it safe, quietly pushed them in this direction. So next time you put on an old cartoon and feel that weird pull, that sense that they just don't make them like this anymore, now you know it's not just nostalgia. Something genuinely changed. The question is whether it changes back. So I really want to hear from you now. Do you feel this too? Or do you think I'm being too harsh on modern cartoons? And which show, for you, best shows the difference between then and now? Tell me down in the comments. I read every single one, and honestly, I have a feeling a lot of us have been quietly feeling this exact thing for years. If this gave you a new way of looking at the cartoons you grew up with, hit that subscribe button and stick around. Until next time, take care of yourselves out there. And remember, the characters that stay with us aren't the ones who made us laugh the fastest. They're the ones who made us feel something real. We just have to actually look.